Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to install an NRG Race Seat in the G35, and in honor of May the 4th be with you, we're going to make a custom Star Wars sticker. Stick around to the end and I'll show you my worst and my best run for my second drift event. I have roughed out the mounting plates and am welding on bolts for the seat rails. You don't have to weld them, but I think it'll make it easier for the install later on. Here I am widening these holes so that I have a little bit of wiggle room with mounting the seat to the floor. And I'm adjusting the shape to give me that room. And now I'm just rounding corners and trying to smooth things out. I'm using the file because the grinder leaves it a bit rough. Alright, I have got a pretty good fit, so it is time for paint. I'm just masking off the bolts so that I don't have to clean the paint off of them later. And then I'm going to start in with this Scotch-Brite pad to scuff up the metal. There are a few spots of rust, so I'm trying to knock that all down with a sander. Now I'm using some goof off to get the adhesive from the sticker off, and the light changes because I opened the garage to get some ventilation. Now I'm just going over the whole thing with rubbing alcohol to get off oil and any kind of deposits and whatnot, so it's ready to take the primer. I'm using a self-etching gray primer, and I do 2 coats even though I only show you one. And then I'm going over the top of that with a satin black. It's in between gloss and flat. I also did 2 coats of that. And now I'm installing the mounting plates to the slider brackets. I'm pretty stoked about this seat. I picked it up for 180 bucks, and it included the mounting brackets for universal installation, and then I got the sliding rails from Amazon for like 25 bucks, something like that. The stock seat in the car is motorized and it has airbags. When I pulled it out, I would guess that it weighed at least 50 pounds. And this one only weighs 12, so it's a huge improvement over the stock seat. Not to mention all the support and bolstering and all those things that we need to stay planted for drifting. Alright, final tightening, and it's ready to go in the car. I'm using the 4 original mounting points front and rear and the stock bolts. The harness I got is a G-force harness. I would love to have put Takatas in there, but they're just out of my price range. I picked this one up for I think about 75 bucks. It's a 4-point harness and it has a standard street style buckle. Camber lock buckles are illegal in some states. And even though they are legal in South Dakota, I wanted to stay on the up and up. For the lap restraints, on the door side I used the stock mounting point from the original seatbelt. On the console side, the seatbelt mounts to the stock seat, so I tied it into the rear mounting bolt for the seat, and that seems to work just fine. In the rear I had to get a bit creative. You're technically supposed to have the harness mounted directly behind you and a little bit down from your shoulders. You'll see a lot of people just mount it to the low mounting points behind the seat, but that's not really the safest way to go about it. So I actually am mounting it to the original mounting points for the rear seat belts, which makes the straps a little bit long and it seems a little bit strange, but it works just fine, and it passed tech, so that's kind of the important thing. You may want to check with your own track to see if that would work in your case. The final touch is putting on shoulder pads, and we're all finished with the seat. And now I'm designing the Star Wars sticker for May the 4th be with you. I have a Silhouette Cameo for cutting stickers, so I'm just using their design software. It's really basic stuff. It's not quite as cool as printed vinyl, but it looks pretty cool. I like it. My drift club is kind of interesting. A lot of the guys have a bunch of weird, random, creative stickers all over their car, and so it's kind of a fun thing to do. My car's silver colored, and I use 4 main colors on the car. Black, a bright blue, a bright green, and then this copper color that matches the Brembo brake calipers. That's a tongue twister. Say that 10 times fast. You cut the vinyl a little larger than the design, and you stick it to this adhesive cutting mat that you feed into the machine. And then you just send the design to the printer and let it do its work. Then comes the really tedious part. You have to pull off all the excess sticker parts. I'm using kind of a dental hook tool to get the little pieces out, and you can see the sticker starting to take shape. Once it's finished, you use a low-tack plastic cover to put on the front of it, and then you basically use that to peel it away from the backing plate and apply it wherever you're going to stick it. I'm using rubbing alcohol to clean the place where I'm going to stick the sticker, which is on the passenger side C-pillar. The plastic's actually so low tack that it's not really holding the sticker, so it kind of is a bit difficult to get off. Pick your spot, stick it on, smooth out the air bubbles. I'm using an application squeegee like you'd use for Bondo to smooth the bubbles out. Then you just peel off that front plastic plate and your sticker's left behind. Last few air bubbles. So I am daily driving my G35 today, and after having done first a drift event and then a second drift event with and without a race seat, I can definitely say that the race seat is a must. After my first drift event, all of my abdominals and core muscles were completely sore from just trying to hold myself in place, and I was fighting with my body and the steering wheel at the same time. With my second event, I was able to be planted and not have to fight my body moving all over the place, and able to just steer the steering wheel, and it made a huge difference. And the next day, the only thing that was sore was the tops of my shoulders, kind of like a sunburn from rubbing on the suede on the top of the seat, but I'm sure I'll get used to it. So anyways, it makes a huge difference. Also, with having changed the bushings in the diff, it feels a lot more responsive. I don't know if I can say predictable because I don't have the skill set yet, but basically when I step on the throttle, I feel it immediately in the rear end, which means that at this point in time, it just means that I'm spinning easier. So that'll have to be the next thing I try and figure out. But it makes a huge difference. So, God thought of the day. Putting in the race seat makes me think of the idea of being planted, anchored in, and that makes me think of a verse in Hebrews chapter 6, verse 19 says that the hope that we have in God is the anchor for our soul. And that is a really profound concept. When we can trust in God, when we can trust in what He has planned for us and that He loves us, then we can have hope in the future and not have to be afraid. So even in all the crazy uncertainty that we're experiencing with the coronavirus and all that kind of stuff, we can hope in God and have an anchor for our soul so that we're planted and we're not being thrown around by the momentum of life and all the things that come at us. So remember, God has a good plan for your life and you can hope in Him, and that's the anchor for your soul. Now that I've got the bucket seat in there, the thing that I found out is that getting in and out of the car is a lot more difficult. So one of the next things I'm going to have to do is install a removable steering wheel, quick release hub. So that'll be in a coming episode. So if you are interested in seeing that, subscribe, give me a like if you enjoyed the video, and have a great day, guys. I'm sorry I have the camera zoomed in. It's a bit nausea-inducing, so you won't hurt my feelings if you click away now. Was there yet?